By Allah, I swear that this very night I will kill Muhammad, even if all of Arabia rises against me. Where are you marching with that drawn blade, Umar? Do you even know what your own blood sister has done?
He was the one man whom the entire Quraysh trusted above everyone else to crush this rising new religion completely. Tall, fierce, and deeply feared, his heavy footsteps in Makkah made even the strongest grown men quietly lower their gaze. The Prophet himself had once raised his hands toward the sky, begging Allah to strengthen Islam through this very same man. On the night he left his house, gripping a sharp sword for murder, a single sudden question stopped him completely cold.
Where are you marching with that drawn blade, Umar? Do you even know what your own blood sister has done?
Before we start, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments below. If you already done, let's begin the journey. What he heard only moments later would shatter every single belief he carried and bend his cold iron heart forever. This is the true story of how Islam's deadliest enemy became the man even Shaitan was terrified to walk beside.
This religion will surely die together with all its weak followers, and I will personally be the one who buries them all.
These were exactly the kinds of words that Umar ibn Al-Khattab carried inside his proud chest during those early tense Makkan years. He belonged to the noble clan of Banu Adi, a respected family known for diplomacy, negotiation, and patiently settling difficult tribal disputes. From a very young age, Umar had learned to read and to write, a truly rare and highly valued skill among the Arabs then.
A man who cannot wrestle, ride a fast horse, and speak with real power is, in my eyes, no true man at all.
He was a fierce wrestler, a clever trader, and a man whose burning anger could quickly empty a crowded room within mere seconds. Standing taller than nearly every other man around him, his towering presence carried a heavy weight that humbled even the most proud nobles. The Quraysh always respected raw physical strength above almost everything else, and in strength, few men in Makkah could ever truly rival him.
Our fathers worshipped these sacred idols for many generations before us, and I will defend them with every single breath inside my body.
To Umar, this strange new message was not merely odd. It felt instead like a direct and personal attack upon his honored ancestors. It divided close families, openly mocked the ancient gods of Makkah, and threatened the entire social order that he had always so deeply loved. The slaves, the weak and the helpless outcasts were now flocking quickly toward Muhammad, and this painful reality enraged Umar far beyond simple words.
How can a mere slave like Bilal dare to stand beside the noble sons of Quraysh, as though he were somehow truly our equal?
He viewed Islam as nothing but pure chaos, a spreading wildfire that, if left completely unchecked, would consume everything familiar and dear to him. So Umar did not simply dislike this new faith, he actively hunted it down relentlessly, street by street and house by quiet house. There is a narration that he once beat a poor, believing slave woman until his own powerful arm grew completely tired and weak.
I am only stopping right now because my hand is exhausted. Certainly not because my hardened heart has finally begun to soften toward you.
She had quietly accepted Islam in her heart, and her only crime in his furious eyes was refusing to abandon her newly found faith. This was the very man that all of Makkah celebrated openly, the enforcer, the wall standing firmly between the people and this dangerous message. Yet behind all of that raging open fury, those who truly knew him well saw rare flashes of fairness, honesty, and deep inner conflict.
Why does this strange new religion stubbornly refuse to break, no matter how hard we keep striking at its quiet, humble followers everywhere?
The believers prayed in deep secret, gathered inside hidden homes, and whispered the Quran softly behind closed and very tightly bolted wooden doors. And the more carefully they hid themselves away from sight, the more Umar's frustration grew into something dangerous and almost deeply personal inside. The Prophet, peace be upon him, quietly watched all of this slowly unfold while making a special dua that very few people ever truly knew.
O Allah, please strengthen this religion of Islam through whichever of these two men you love more, Abu Jahl or Umar ibn Al-Khattab.
That single short and sincere supplication, preserved within the trusted authentic books of Hadith, was about to completely change the entire course of history, because the very man whom the Quraysh had carefully sent to destroy Islam was the man whom Allah had already secretly chosen to elevate forever. His honesty was so widely famous that even his bitterest enemies admitted Umar never lied, never cheated, and never once broke a promise he gave.
But this same deeply honest man believed with his whole heart that destroying Islam was the most honorable thing he could ever truly achieve.
He was not at all a cruel man without any reason. He was instead a man fully convinced he was protecting his people from danger. And that absolute conviction, that complete and total certainty, made him far more dangerous to the believers than any random angry attacker ever could be. Day after day, the young religion grew quietly stronger, and day after day, Umar's burning desire to destroy it grew stronger right alongside it.
He believed that the entire problem could be solved permanently with just one swift, decisive, and final strike against the man leading it all.
In his mind, there was no room left for any mercy, any doubt, or any hesitation when it came to protecting his ancestral way. The idols of his fathers, the honor of his tribe, the gods of the Kaaba, all of it demanded that this movement be ended now. And so, the stage was perfectly set for one single night that would forever divide the entire life of Umar into a clear before and after. A night that began with cold-blooded murder fully in his heart, and would somehow end with him weeping before the very man he hunted.
But first, on that dark and truly fateful night, I will tie my heavy sword tightly to my side and walk straight toward murder. Enough talking. Enough of all this endless waiting. Tonight I will finally kill Muhammad and end this entire troubling matter once and for all.
The pressure building steadily inside the city of Makkah had finally reached its breaking point, and the leaders now demanded a permanent, bloody solution. The Muslims were leaving in steady growing waves. Some had already migrated to distant Abyssinia, and the message kept spreading far beyond their control. So Umar made his final and terrible decision, strapped on his heavy iron sword, and stepped out boldly into the cold, dark Makkan night. When the very head of this dangerous new movement finally falls, the entire body will quickly collapse, and Quraysh will finally breathe freely again. His face was hard as solid cold stone, his grip was tight around the hilt, and his entire mind was firmly locked upon murder. But along the way he suddenly met a man named Nuaym ibn Abdullah, who instantly noticed the burning fury blazing wildly within his eyes.
Where exactly are you marching off to with that drawn sword and that truly terrifying look of cold murder written across your entire face?
Umar answered him without any hesitation at all that he was going straight to finally finish Muhammad and this troublesome new religion forever tonight. What Nuaym said next made Umar suddenly freeze completely in place, because the sharp words struck somewhere far closer to home than he ever expected. Before you ever worry yourself about Muhammad, perhaps you should first go and quickly fix the terrible situation hiding inside your own family home. Umar immediately demanded to know exactly what he meant by that, and Nuaym then revealed something that shook him down to his very core inside.
Your own sister Fatimah and her husband Sa'id have both already secretly left your gods and embraced the new religion of Muhammad just now.
For one single frozen moment, the entire world around him seemed to violently tilt, and Umar's burning rage suddenly found a brand new target.
My own sister, my own flesh and blood, has truly dared to betray our sacred gods and follow this man Muhammad as well now?
He turned around instantly, his fury now violently doubled inside him, and marched straight toward his sister's house with trembling, shaking, furious hands. Inside that small, quiet house, Fatima and her husband were calmly listening to a companion recite slowly from a written page of the Quran. The verses being recited were from Surah Taha, soft yet powerful words about the one who had created all the things everywhere around them. Undi, ma anzalna alayka al-Qur'ana litashka. Taha, we have not sent down this noble Quran upon you, O Prophet, so that you would suffer any distress or hardship at all. They suddenly heard the heavy, angry footsteps approaching from outside, so they quickly hid the precious pages away and lowered their fearful, trembling voices. But Umar had already clearly heard the faint, beautiful sound of the recitation drifting softly through the wall before he even reached their door.
What is this strange murmuring sound that I just clearly heard coming from inside? Tell me the whole truth right now, all of you!
He burst through the door like a violent, raging storm, demanding answers, and his brave sister boldly refused to lie about her newfound faith. In a complete blind rage, Umar struck Saeed hard, and when Fatima rushed forward to protect her husband, his heavy hand struck her face. Bright red blood slowly trickled down from the lip of his own sister, and in that single terrible instant, something deep inside Umar cracked. He looked down silently at the warm blood staining her face, and her trembling words then pierced far deeper than any sword he ever carried.
Do whatever you wish to us right now, Umar, but by Allah, we will never ever leave the religion of Islam again, never ever.
The painful sight of his own sister's blood, mixed with her completely unshakable courage, struck Umar in a place his fists could never reach. He stood there frozen, the angry murderer suddenly silenced, staring down at the very blood he had just spilled with his own two hands. This was not the slave woman he had once beaten, this was his sister, and her quiet faith had not broken under his heavy blows. For the first time in his entire proud life, the unstoppable Umar ibn Al-Khattab felt something he could not control rising slowly inside his chest. It was not the familiar burning anger he knew so well. It was something stranger, something quieter, something that felt almost frighteningly like shame. He had come there as a furious storm, fully ready to destroy, yet now he stood there strangely still, like a man suddenly lost. The page they had hidden away from him seemed to call out to him quietly, pulling at the edges of his hardened, curious mind. He did not yet understand it, but the man who walked through that door was already very different from the man who would soon leave it. His eyes kept drifting back toward the spot where they had hidden the precious words, and a strange new desire began to slowly grow in him. He suddenly no longer wanted to destroy that page. He wanted instead to read it, to see it, to understand it for himself completely. And in that exact unexpected moment, the careful plan of murder he had carried all night quietly slipped away from his loosening grip forever. The man who came to spill blood would now astonishingly ask his wounded sister for the very thing he had come there to destroy. Something deep had clearly shifted inside the hardened heart of Umar in that moment, and his trembling rage slowly melted into a strange, quiet curiosity.
Show me that page that you were both quietly reading. Let me see with my very own eyes exactly what made you abandon everything.
But his sister, ever wise and deeply cautious, refused him firmly at first, telling him plainly that he was impure and unfit to touch it.
Go and wash yourself completely clean first, Umar, for no one at all may touch these holy sacred words while carrying such filth upon him.
Astonishingly, the very same man who had stormed in there to kill quietly obeyed her, washed himself fully, and returned with clean and steady hands. When his eyes finally fell directly upon the verses of Surah Taha, the powerful holy words seemed to reach straight down into his very soul. Innani ana Allahu la ilaha illa ana fa'budni wa aqimis salata li dhikri. Indeed, I am Allah. There is no God worthy of worship except me. So worship me alone and establish the prayer for my remembrance. Umar slowly read through those lines, and all the hardness inside him began to crumble away like a thick wall struck by a heavy hammer. How beautiful, how noble, and how utterly powerful are these words. Surely no mere human being could ever have written such pure, perfect speech. In that single, shocking instant, the greatest living enemy of Islam felt the truth crash over him like a giant wave he could not stop. Take me to Muhammad right now, take me straight to him this very moment, for I now truly wish to enter into this faith myself. The very same sword that he had drawn earlier to commit cold murder was now hanging completely useless at his side as he walked toward submission. He soon arrived at the house of Al-Arqam, where the Prophet and his loyal companions had been secretly meeting together in fearful and careful secrecy. When the believers inside suddenly heard the heavy, loud knock of Umar at the door, a wave of pure, cold terror swept through the whole room. They all knew his fearsome name well. They knew his deadly sword well, and they fully assumed he had finally come to slaughter them all together now. But one truly brave companion, the mighty Hamza, said calmly that if Umar came for good, then good, and if not, then so be it. The Prophet himself then stood up slowly, walked forward, grabbed Umar firmly by his garment, and pulled him in close with surprising and great strength. "O Umar, what has finally brought you here to me tonight? Will you not ever stop until Allah himself sends his punishment crashing down upon you?" Umar, the very man who had once sworn a solemn oath to kill him, now trembled humbly before him and spoke the words changing everything. "O Messenger of Allah, I have truly come here only to declare my full faith in Allah and in you as his true final messenger." The whole room that just moments ago was completely frozen in cold terror suddenly erupted with a takbir so loud that it echoed across Makkah. "Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar!" The joyful companions cried out loudly together, their old fear instantly transforming into a pure joy they could barely even contain. The Prophet's secret and deeply powerful dua had finally been answered, and Islam had just suddenly gained one of its strongest and fiercest protectors ever. Umar, however, was never at all a man to hide himself away. And from that very moment, he refused to worship Allah in secret anymore. Why should we, the proud followers of the truth, keep hiding ourselves quietly away while the people of falsehood walk so freely outside everywhere now? He boldly demanded that all the Muslims gather and march openly to the Kaaba and pray together there for the very first time before everyone. And so the believers, now led so bravely by Umar himself, prayed openly at the Kaaba, and the proud city of Makkah was never the same. The fearsome hunter had become the protector, and the very sword once raised high to destroy Islam was now raised proudly to defend it forever instead. The news raced like wildfire through every corner of Makkah that the great Umar ibn Al-Khattab, their strongest enforcer, had truly joined Muhammad himself. For the Quraysh leaders, it was a crushing and unexpected blow, because the very man they trusted to end Islam had now become its shield. For the suffering believers, it was a moment of overwhelming relief and joy, because one of their two greatest enemies had now become their brother. The balance of power in the streets of Makkah had shifted in a single night, all because one heart had finally cracked open to truth. No one could have ever predicted that the man marching out to murder would return that same night marching proudly into the fold of faith. But this was only the very beginning of the incredible story of Umar, for the strength he brought to Islam would soon shake whole empires. The young man who once defended dead idols would soon become the leader who carried the worship of one God across the entire wide world. And the same fierce energy he once used to crush the believers would now be unleashed entirely in their defense and protection from that day forward. The transformation of his heart was complete, but the transformation of history through that single heart had only just barely begun to truly take shape. The conversion of Umar was not at all some small private event. It instantly sent a powerful shockwave rippling out through every single street of Makkah. The great companion Abdullah ibn Masud later openly said the Muslims could not pray freely at the Kaaba at all until Umar finally accepted Islam. We were never truly able to pray at the Holy Kaaba freely until the very day that Umar ibn Al-Khattab finally embraced our faith with us. His sheer physical strength and fierce reputation now suddenly became a living shield, protecting the weak believers who had once been beaten and tortured so openly. The Quraysh, who had once feared no Muslim at all, now hesitated greatly, because attacking the believers meant directly facing the unstoppable wrath of Umar himself. For the entire rest of his long, eventful life, Umar carried that exact same fearless energy, never once bowing before anyone except his one Lord above. When the time of the Great Migration finally arrived, most believers slipped very quietly out of Makkah, leaving in secret under the safe cover of darkness. But Umar flatly and proudly refused, choosing instead to openly challenge the entire hostile city before he finally left his beloved home behind for Medina. I am now leaving this place for Medina, so let any man who truly wishes to make his own mother weep come and try to stop me. He stood boldly right at the Kaaba, his sharp sword in his hand, daring the proudest warriors of all Quraysh to step forward and face him. Not a single man among them dared to even move a single inch, and Umar walked calmly out of Makkah with his head held high. In Medina, his great strength quickly became a solid pillar of the rapidly growing Muslim community, standing firm beside the Prophet through every difficult trial ahead. He fought bravely at Badr, at Uhud, and in many other countless battles, his sword always raised high in defense of the truth and the faith. The Prophet trusted him so very deeply, and there is a famous hadith showing just how truly special and beloved Umar really was in his blessed eyes. If there were ever truly to be another prophet after me, then it would surely have been Umar ibn Al-Khattab, the noble son of Al-Khattab. The Prophet also clearly said that Shaitan himself would always flee and very quickly take a completely different path whenever he saw Umar approaching ahead of him. By the one in whose hand my soul rests, whenever Shaitan ever sees you walking upon any path, he immediately turns and takes another one entirely. This was no longer at all the same man who once beat helpless slaves and hunted believers. This was now a mighty fortress standing strong for Islam. Yet despite all of his truly immense strength, Umar wept very easily and often, and his deep fear of Allah softened the heart that once knew rage. He would recite the Holy Quran during his prayer and break down crying so hard that those praying behind him could clearly hear his quiet sobs. The very man who had once shed the innocent blood of believers now shed endless flowing tears purely out of deep love and fear of his Lord. He once said that he wished he had been a tree that was cut down and used, rather than face the terrible accountability of the Day of Judgment. This astonishing fear of Allah living inside such a powerful and fearless man was perhaps the truest measure of just how completely his heart had changed. When the Prophet, peace be upon him, finally passed away from this world, Umar was so completely overwhelmed that he refused to even believe it at first. He stood there with his sword drawn, threatening anyone who dared to say the beloved messenger of Allah had truly died and left them all behind. It was only the calm, steady and wise words of his dear friend Abu Bakr that finally brought Umar back from his deep grief and disbelief. Abu Bakr reminded the people gently that whoever worshipped Muhammad should know he had died, but whoever worshipped Allah should know that Allah lives forever. Those powerful words struck Umar so hard that his legs gave way beneath him, and he collapsed to the ground, finally accepting the painful truth. The fearless warrior, the man even Shaitan avoided, was brought to his knees by the overwhelming love he carried for the Prophet in his heart. It revealed something beautiful and deep, that true strength was never about the absence of love, but about the willingness to feel it so completely. For 2 years, Umar stood faithfully beside Abu Bakr, supporting the first caliph with all of his strength as Islam continued to grow ever wider. He was the trusted advisor, the strong right hand, the man whose firm judgment helped guide the young nation safely through its earliest and most uncertain days. And when Abu Bakr himself eventually fell ill and approached the end, he chose Umar to lead the entire Muslim nation after he was gone. It was a heavy and enormous trust placed upon the very shoulders of a man who once walked those same streets carrying only a sword and hatred. The former enemy of Islam was now about to become the leader of the believers, the guardian of the faith he had once tried so hard to destroy. And the entire heavy weight of the whole expanding Muslim nation would now soon fall completely upon the broad and trembling shoulders of Umar ibn Al-Khattab. When Umar ibn Al-Khattab finally became the second caliph of all Islam, he now ruled over a vast empire that was rapidly expanding across the world. Under his strong, wise and just leadership, both the mighty Persian and Roman empires trembled, and vast new lands opened up to the message of Islam. Yet the very man who now governed many millions of people lived so simply that complete strangers often could not believe he was their great leader at all. He wore old, patched and worn clothing, slept under a tree out in the open, and carried the heavy worries of every single citizen upon his shoulders.
If even a single lost animal dies upon the distant banks of the Euphrates, I truly fear that Allah will question me about it directly someday.
This was truly the real heart of Umar, a powerful ruler genuinely terrified of accountability, who walked the streets quietly at night checking on his own people. There is a famous story of him personally carrying a heavy sack of flour upon his own back to feed a poor and starving family. A deeply worried companion offered to carry the heavy load for him, but Umar refused him with words that still echo through all of history even today.
You may indeed carry this burden for me here in this world, but tell me, who will ever carry my burden on the great day of judgment?
He established advanced systems of justice, welfare and governance, so brilliant and so fair that historians still carefully study his methods of leadership even to this very day. He created the Islamic calendar we still use, built a treasury for the poor, and held even his own family to the very strictest standards of all. When his own son was found guilty of a serious crime, Umar showed him no special mercy at all and applied the full punishment upon him. For Umar, justice was completely blind to status, blood and power, because he knew that one day he would stand and answer for all of it. Yet for all of his vast power and all of his might, Umar always clearly remembered exactly where he had truly come from before Islam ever saved him. He never once forgot that dark night he marched out to commit murder, the night his sister bled, the night his cold, hard heart finally broke open. His entire incredible life stands as the greatest living proof that no single person is ever truly too far gone, too sinful, or too lost for guidance. The man who first came only to completely destroy Islam became the very man who carried Islam across the entire known world upon his own strong shoulders. If Allah could truly transform a heart as hard and as cold as the heart of Umar once was, then surely no heart anywhere is beyond saving today. So whenever you feel that your own sins have grown far too heavy or that your past is far too dark, remember this powerful story very carefully. Remember that Umar once walked openly out toward murder, and Allah lovingly turned those very same heavy footsteps into a clear path leading straight toward eternal honor. The real distance between you and your own great transformation may truly be nothing more than a single verse, a single tear, or one sincere, honest moment. Umar simply heard just a few short lines of the Holy Quran, and those very few lines completely rewrote his entire destiny in both of the worlds forever. The very same Quran that softened the hard and cold heart of Islam's greatest enemy is still sitting quietly somewhere within your own easy reach right now, today. The only real question left now is truly simple. Will you finally let those words reach your heart the very same way they once reached Umar's heart? Because the same door that once opened so wide for the greatest enemy of all Islam is the very same door still standing wide open for you tonight. The story of Umar is not only a story about the distant past, it is a living mirror held up directly in front of your own face. It quietly asks you what kind of heart you carry and whether you would let truth in if it ever knocked on your door tonight. It reminds you that the loudest enemies of guidance are sometimes only one sincere moment away from becoming its strongest and most devoted defenders ever. And it teaches that Allah's mercy is always far greater, far wider, and far deeper than any single sin a human being could ever possibly carry. So do not ever look at any person, including yourself, and decide that they are completely beyond the reach of guidance and the mercy of Allah. The next Umar could be the person you least expect, the harshest critic, the loudest opponent, or even the tired face staring back in your mirror. Because guidance never came to Umar after he became gentle and soft. It came to him while he was still marching with a sword and hatred. That is the true and stunning power of this story, that Allah's light can reach a heart even at its very darkest and most distant hour. Let that single truth settle deep inside your chest tonight and refuse to leave, long after these final words of the story have gently faded away. For if the door of mercy opened so completely for a man walking toward murder, then surely it has never once truly closed for you. And maybe, just maybe, the same words that broke open the heart of Umar are the exact words your own waiting heart has been quietly needing. So the only thing left now is for you to stop, to listen closely, and to finally let that ancient, timeless light finally reach you. Because every great transformation in all of history began with the very same small thing, one single heart that finally chose to stop running and listen.